I find this an interesting observation and I wanted to share it. So here nobody did cut. This is done by the dogs. They like to hang out here right next to the door, and of course they want to see what's going on. So they walked up and down frequently enough to have this all stomped down and broken off the same way as we would do with a machine. So it's quite interesting. We had some early morning frost, and the palovnia trees do not like this. Their leaves dry out and curl up. I'm not sure if that is visible on camera, but you might be able to spot the moisture going up in the air with the early morning sun. It is around 8:30. The sun is out and bright, and there's smoke on the water. It is evaporating, and this is typical for this area here. So wherever there is a leafy surface or something else that can catch condensation, it does so, and then it evaporates. And it looks like it were burning. So this is a nice picture here in this area, but you can see this everywhere on any kind of surface. Now, if there were more leaves on top of that evaporation would then stay inside. And that is why we are planting a Miaki Forest, to get this effect under control and turned into a benefit. Because in the Miaki Forest, the upper layer will then stop this evaporation from going away, or that moisture from going away. And here is our work to plant a Miaki Forest. The guys are on the final stretch. There's some space left there in the center, and then a few corners, and then we can call this done. So that later we can then switch to a different topic, which is to plant palovnia trees. But as you could see, the morning was quite chilly and we had some frost, and that is not very good for palovnia trees. So for that we have to wait actually a little bit. But it's good that we can use that time for the Miaki. The system here with the lock and the two gates turned out to work very well, because that way the puppies understand where their place is and they are not trying to go out for an adventure. And I'm very happy with that. Makes management a lot easier. It is also quite interesting how they behave now. Now that they know that there are two gates, they are not even trying to get in here. So they stay before the second gate. And up there on that pile you see Olaf. He is kind of the watchdog in a literal sense, because he goes up there and provides oversight. And interestingly, he is the lowest ranking dog, and he is the one who has to blow the whistle when something happens. While everybody else is sleeping, goofing off, he has to be on watch and alert the others. So they are well organized. This is very interesting to see how a group of dogs organizes themselves when there is a group. You don't see this, I would think, if you have 2 or 3, but if you have a whole pack, then you can see how nature intended this to be. So it's basically a hunting party that knows by instinct how to do the job. Alexander and the Cortejo decided to build a new door, and this is how it looks like. And I find this quite a nice invention with lots of interesting details. And it closes very well. You could call this a little bit overbuilt, but it doesn't really matter. It is a work of love and art. And so thank you, Alexander, for making this happen. It is now time to add a few more sensors to this place here. One for a gate and two for soil moisture. So here we are at the planting site where the sensors will be installed. And you might notice this morning we had frost, now it is sunny and everything looks very nice again. So there should be now two more sensors installed. Now the last task is to press a button to take an initial reading and send it to the LoRa gateway so that it will then show up at the dashboard. So let's go and find the button and press it. So here is the sensor. And that was the press, and now we should have readings. What I can show also is, and over the last 2 days, a lot more have been planted. We now have 3 rows of wobblers here. And we only miss the centerpiece here. And then this is done. Maybe here and there we need to fill up a little bit the corners. So, for example, up there, that would be the last part. And in case that we have plants left, and it looks like we will, because the number of plants has been increasing all the time, and the surface was an approximate, so we apparently have more plants, plus they also delivered 5 or 10% more, and that's quite a number. When you say 5% or 10% more for 20,000 upward plants. So here we have additional plants, and we will then plant them in all corners and wherever we can find a good space. Or if all else fails, and that would not be a failure, then we put them over there. But of course that also requires irrigation. But at least the line passes by there, so it wouldn't be a problem. Every single piece that is hanging here from the ceiling is accounted for individually. Nothing can escape. Each leg has a label with an identification number. Now Angel is taking one out to have a closer look. And here it is. You can see how yellow the fat is, and you can also notice how it has shrunk. Now the weight is significantly less than when it was fresh. When you start cutting the hem, it is important to keep this fat in order to close the cut surface again, so that it won't dry out. To get your own leg of hem, you can head over to our web shop and order some. There are 2 options for you to buy the hem. We offer envelopes with 100 gram of hand-sliced pieces of ham, and there is the full leg. In the case of a front leg, it's about 4 to 6 kilo each. Families in Spain keep the leg in the kitchen, and everybody cuts off a slice whenever they are hungry. The hens are now outside exploring the surroundings of their coop, and apparently putting their feet outside has helped. Unfortunately, the electric fence that you see there is no good in our environment. They are able to touch it and even pass through it, given that they are slim enough. Once they are bigger, they will not fit, but it definitely does not work And the reason is it is already so dry that the soil does not transport electricity anymore. And that is a requirement for an electric fence of this type. So we cannot use this technique, which works elsewhere where the soil is deep and humid. That is not the case here. But then the best way to keep hens is to let them free range, truly free range, so that they can roam as they like and move around a mobile coop that serves as shelter where the nesting boxes are and where they can quickly go under or in when there is a predator around. We are in the afternoon, and while I wait on Alexander, we want to try something with the horses. I am doing a little bit of maintenance, and I'm going to show you what it is. So here, I just cut down a little bit of that so that I have access to the chive. I do like chive. That is going in here. Of course, it had gone to seed, and I think I have to start irrigate now because it is getting onto the dry side. And that means that I also have to cut a little bit here because somewhere there is a connection for the water hose. So it is now time to do that. And then I had been cutting, and I am cutting selectively, so I'm not cutting down everything. It is just to make it a little bit lighter and leave as much as I can so that it finishes its cycle and all these things. So here, this area, this is supposed to be leveled. We replaced the forks with the bucket of the backhoe today so that we can do this. The idea is to level this and then start our vetiver nursery. I'm still waiting a little bit of material for that. And once that has arrived, upcoming week, then we can start harvesting vetiver and start our nursery here. There will be a wobbler in the center, and that wobbler can be connected right here to the water hose that also has pressure that is already there. So here, left of my shadow, you can see that hose. And then we have a vetiver nursery. And we can also put trays with other plants there. Probably need to put a fence around it so that the dogs won't go in there. But we can find something for that. So I did find a dripping water line that we can connect to provide water to the garden bed. Here it is. So instead of that, there will be an outlet, and then I can connect my special water hose to this. And that also means I have another reason to put a soil sensor into this garden bed, because that is something that I also had on my list. This here is the makeshift chicken observation station. So there's a camera on top of it, but it is not working as good as I wanted. It's the Wi-Fi signal that is not enough. And here is the fence that does not work anymore. So this is something that we need to remove because it does not really protect them, because the soil is not conducive to electricity anymore. And so electric fences do not work when it gets hot in this climate. So we got the horse, lead and training line and a string halter, and we are now getting to Scarora, and then we want to play a little bit with her in that round pen that we put up there. And this is the idea, to get Alexander on her back in a couple of days. So we will see how that goes.